Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. I'm Malik Haj, and this is We Reflect the Light. This is where we look at current events that are taking place in the world today through the lens of the unsealed scriptures of the Bible. It gives us detailed information on what is taking place in the world today and what is going to take place in the world in the near future from the unsealed scriptures of the Bible. Sisters and brothers, we are at war. Our presentation today, sisters and brothers, is on the war in the Middle East. The war, situate this brothers and sisters. All right. The war that we're witnessing take place in the Middle East. Sisters and brothers, this war is the war in heaven. This war that we're witnessing is going to bring a change to our reality, a change to the world. Sisters and brothers, this war is directly connected to the original black man and woman here in America. Scripture shares with us, sisters and brothers, what the outcome of this war will be. This war we're witnessing is described in Scripture, sisters and brothers, as the war in heaven. Now, Scripture state, and occurred war in the heaven. The Michael and the angels of him of the to war with the dragon, and the dragon warred and the angels of it. And not it proved strong, not but place was found of them, yet in the heaven, and was thrown the dragon the great, the serpent the archaic, the being called devil, and the Satan, the making to air the being inhabited whole. He was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. Sisters and brothers, Michael is Master Farad Muhammad, and his angels are Iran and Syria. The dragon is the house of Saud, Saudi Arabia. And the dragon's angels are Britain, false Israel, and America. Sisters and brothers, let's come back. These four countries are the four countries that entered into the war. It's actually more than these with the we're gonna these four countries has entered into the war against Iran. Iran is fighting three nuclear powered states, countries, and as well with the dragon who fuels these countries, which is Saudi Arabia, the House of Saud. Sisters and brothers, the scriptures state that the dragon and its angels will be thrown into the earth. That means they'll be thrown out of heaven. They will be thrown out by Michael and his angels. Right now, Iran is at war with all four of with the dragon and his angels. Now, sisters and brothers, this Iran, and Master Fard Muhammad. Iran is at war with the House of Saud, Britain, America, and false Israel. Now, sisters and brothers, false Israel does not belong in the Middle East. False Israel was set up by America and Britain in 1948 after Elijah Muhammad made the claim that the original black man and woman in America are the true seed of Abraham. So America and Britain set false Israel up in the Middle East to block our vision, to keep, to block the truth of who we are, and to push this counter narrative on the world and the original black man and woman to keep us from identifying who we are. So this is a counterintelligence program that is being used against the original black man and woman. Sisters and brothers, this is we're in a state of war and we are being attacked from every elevated place. Now, sisters and brothers, we, the original black man and woman, are living in a land that is not ours. America has been set up on the backs of our nation. Sisters and brothers, our nation is a nation inside of a nation. America has built its heaven off of our minds. Let me say that. Like this, using our innovation, our ideas, sisters and brothers. And America has their heaven produced a heaven for them, and in return, we have been living through hell. Now, sisters and brothers, this hell brings us up to what's taking place right now. We'll get there. Sisters and brothers, false Israel, this who has been set up to claim that they are God's chosen people. That they are the seed of Abraham that have been afflicted for 400 years. This claim, sisters and brothers, have been made as we sit in the land of our affliction. While we are enduring through that 400 year and have came through that 400-year period. However, America and Britain has used Christianity to push this narrative that the false Jews are God's chosen people, meaning the false Jews are us. They have stolen the original black man and woman's identity. And America and Britain is pushing this narrative throughout the world using Christianity and as well as Catholicism. That false Israel is representing Abraham's seed or is God's chosen people. Now, sisters and brothers, they're making this claim after going through a short-term a short-term situation of being put into concentration camps inside of the country that they lived in. Inside of the country where they, the false Jews, the Sephardic Jews, turned on their country and helped Britain and outsiders or another country to utilize them to win a war against Germany. So what actually took place with the false Jews being gassed was a response from their actions against Germany or the country that they lived in. Treason, or what is called traitors of the country. So, sisters and brothers, this short term, 3-4 year experience that the false Jews brought upon themselves is what they're using or use and speaking on as if the Holocaust was so, like, it was the most terrible thing that has taken place. Sisters and brothers, what we're witnessing by the hands of the false Jews right now on Gaza since 2023 is coming up on a 3 year. It's coming up on its 3rd year. And what false Israel went through took place for 4 years. However, false Israel is occupying Gaza, taking, stealing their land. The Gazans didn't betray false Israel or their country. However, false Israel betrayed their country where they were living. So what false Israel went through, the Jews, the Jews, the agnostic, sometimes I get that word right, sometimes I mess it up. Jews suffered from consequence of their actions. However, sisters and brothers, false Israel is an abomination that is causing desolation, destruction. This abomination of desolation The scripture says, therefore, when you see this abomination of desolation, which is spoken of through Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. False Israel is an abomination that is causing destruction in the Middle East, in the holy place, which the Middle East is considered the Holy Land. Jerusalem, let's say, is considered to be Holy Land. That's why they call it the Holy Land. False Israel suppressed the uprising of Hamas with abominable, cruel destruction. And false Israel has been carrying out this abominable, cruel destruction for going on coming up on 3 years. Sisters and brothers, carrying out genocide on the Palestinian people. The world is watching this genocide take place. False Israel's genocide is being backed, supported, and funded by America. America is backing, funding, and supporting this genocide taking place in Gaza or in Palestine, as well as Britain. And the West didn't condemn or didn't stop or condemn what is taking place in Palestine that is being carried out by false Israel and America. This genocide it's their what's going on here? So we're witnessing, the world is witnessing this genocide. Now, the scriptures say, when you see this abomination that is causing desolation, standing where it does not belong, let the reader understand. When you see this abomination, false Israel is an abomination because they do not belong in the Middle East. And false Israel is causing desolation, destruction all through the Middle East. False Israel is attacking Lebanon, has attacked Syria, has attacked Yemen, all just attacking nation after nation. They're behind the attacks on Iraq, false Israel is an abomination. Now, sisters and brothers, false Israel claims that they're God's chosen people. In making this claim, false Israel, America, and Britain, and the dragon are protecting false Israel in this claim. And has the world looking at false Israel as if they're God's chosen people. And scripture states those that bless Israel will be blessed, and those that curse Israel will be cursed. So false Israel has been blessed by the nations in making this claim. So they have been made powerful and rich by this claim. Sisters and brothers, and those that curse false Israel will be cursed, or curse Israel. Now, false Israel, those that are against this Zionist entity, this abomination, they are cursed. So they can't buy or sell because they're not backing this lie, or they're against false Israel. So you see, all those that are against this Zionist entity, or this abomination that has been set up by America and Britain, that America and Britain and the West protects this lie, or this Zionist state of false Israel. So America and Britain and the West is using their influence and their religion to allocate false Israel's claim. And they are carrying out the word that the scripture states. So they're saying, they're making it as if you come against false Israel, they are against you. They're against your nation. They're against whichever nation doesn't back this Zionist nation, or this lie that they are protecting. So, sisters and brothers, the nations that are against this Zionist entity, they are cursed by America, Britain, and the West, as well as the House of Saud, Saudi Arabia. In these Gulf states, they are protecting and are being made rich themselves, living, allowing America's military bases in the region. They're supporting this America and Britain. They're supporting they have their support. They're supporting with money, oil, and supplying America, Britain with cheap oil. So the dragon is the house of Sod, sisters and brothers, who, as well as false Israel, America and Britain, but America as the base, because America so-called is the superpower and has the strongest military. But together, America, NATO, America controls NATO, so they can use NATO, and they protect the dragon or Saudi Arabia as well. Saudi Arabia is protected by America and kept empowered by America. Now, sisters and brothers, the scriptures say when you see this abomination that is causing destruction, that is causing desolation, standing where it does not belong, and false Israel does not belong in the Middle East. Let the reader understand. So, sisters and brothers, the war in heaven, as we read, is sharing with us that America, first, let's start with the dragon. The dragon who fuels the devil and the Satan, the archaic, those that makes to air the inhabitants all. That means they're making the whole, their rule and their ways are influencing the world. They're making the world, the inhabitants of the world, air, sin. Their ways is influencing the world, so the world is following the ways of the devil and the Satan. And that's what's taking place. America, Britain, and false Israel, these are the main influential, the countries that this is their world. They're running or control. They're the rulers of this world. The Caucasian nations are ruling this world that we're living in. Now, sisters and brothers, scriptures tells us that the dragon and his angels are thrown out of heaven into the earth. That after this war, there will be no place found of them in heaven. or that's saying there will be no place found of them in the Middle East. Now, sisters and brothers, false Israel is going to be destroyed. This Zionist entity will be sieged and destroyed because they're not going to walk away. They're not going to just get up and leave the Middle East. They're going to be given the opportunity to just leave. But they're not going to just leave. They're going to fight till the very end to try to keep occupation in the Middle East. However, it is going to bring them to their destruction. Now, false Israel destruction is being brought about, sisters and brothers, so that the world will recognize that false Israel is false, that they are not God's chosen people. And the West, America's religious eschatology, this this religious eschatology that they're pushing, claiming that Israel is God's chosen people, will be exposed to the world. And the religious eschatology will be destroyed when false Israel is destroyed, which in the destruction of false Israel will bring the truth to the light of who the true seed of Abraham is. And when the true seed of Abraham is seen without a shadow of a doubt, sisters and brothers, it's going to shock the world. Because when that happens, those that afflicted and cursed Israel, the true Israel, God's, Abraham's seed, God's chosen people, when the world recognized who God's chosen people really are, and those that afflicted and cursed them will be cursed. So those that blessed God's chosen people, or didn't stand against them, are going to be blessed. So, sisters and brothers, false Israel's destruction is going to put a light on the original black man and woman here in America. Because, sisters and brothers, the original black man and woman here in America are the true seed of Abraham. Now, sisters and brothers, we're witnessing the war in the Middle East, which is heaven. The outcome of this war, the dragon and his angels are going to be thrown out of heaven. America, Britain, and the House of Assad are going to be thrown out of the Middle East by force. And Iran is carrying out scripture. Iran is going to throw, is the God, Master Farad Muhammad's angel, one of the angels in Syria. And you're witnessing the gods, Master Farad Muhammad's people throwing the dragon and his angels out of heaven or out of the Middle East. Now, false Israel is not going to be thrown out. False Israel is going to be destroyed. Sisters and brothers, this is what we're witnessing. Now, sisters and brothers, this is, if you're watching, paying attention to what's taking place and what in the war in heaven or in the war in the Middle East, and how it's affecting the world, and what Iran is standing on and what they're saying, and how Iran is fighting the world powers, America, Britain, and false Israel at once. Now, sisters and brothers, this is the state of false Israel and what Iran is sharing that has been shared with you, sisters and brothers, the original black man and woman, knowing the outcome, the mind state of those that are fighting or at war with false Israel and what they're carrying, that they're saying must happen is right in line with what Scripture says is going to happen. So we're going to look at a clip and then we will continue. All right, hold up. We'll continue to do that once we after the clip.
Tensions in West Asia have reached yet another boiling point as a powerful statement from Iran's Islamic Revolution Guards Corps, the IRGC, has sent shockwaves across the region and beyond. In a strongly worded declaration, the IRGC has condemned recent Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, calling them not only an act of aggression, but part of what it describes as a long and violent campaign against Palestinian leadership and civilians. But it was the final message in the statement that drew the most attention and sparked immediate global concern. According to the IRGC, peace in West Asia as it exists today is impossible. Their words were unambiguous, uncompromising, and deeply confrontational. They warned that the region will not see stability or security unless, in their own words, the Israeli regime is completely removed. The statement came in response to the assassination of senior figures within Hamas in Gaza, including Mohammed Odeh, who was killed alongside his wife and 3 children in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza City. Also named was Ezzedine El-Haddad, a senior commander of the Izz ad-Din el-Qassam brigades, described as a veteran of decades-long conflict against Israel. The IRGC condemned the killings as brutal and deliberate, accusing Israel of what it called predatory and destructive behavior. It stated that such strikes, rather than weakening resistance movements, would only intensify determination and deepen the cycle of conflict across the region. Israel, for its part, confirmed the targeting of Hamas military leadership, saying the operations were aimed at eliminating key operational commanders responsible for attacks. However, the IRGC's response framed the situation very differently, portraying the assassinations as evidence of what it calls an ongoing campaign against Palestinian resistance. The statement emphasized that every killing, every strike, and every escalation only only strengthens what it describes as the continuation of the struggle until the liberation of Palestine and El-Quds. The IRGC also launched a sharp political attack on Washington and its allies, criticizing long-standing Western support for Israel. It dismissed proposed peace initiatives in the region, including plans announced earlier by U.S. President Donald Trump, calling them ineffective and, in its words, built on violence, coercion, and instability. According to the statement, such proposals do not represent peace at all, but rather the continuation of conflict under a different name. The IRGC further accused Western governments of ignoring what it describes as decades of Israeli military actions, saying these events have exposed contradictions in global human rights claims and international diplomacy. It argued that the reality on the ground has now become undeniable and that global opinion is shifting in ways that cannot be reversed. The statement concluded with a reaffirmation of Iran's support for what it calls the axis of resistance and its commitment to opposing Israeli presence in the region. It declared that the struggle will continue politically, ideologically, and militarily until what it calls occupied territories are liberated. As the region watches closely, one question now hangs over an already fragile geopolitical landscape. Is this another escalation in rhetoric or a signal of a deeper and more dangerous phase in an already volatile conflict? Iran has thrown down the gauntlet at the United States, demanding the immediate and unconditional release of billions of dollars in frozen Iranian assets, while warning Washington that talks cannot move forward unless the money is returned. The fiery message came as tensions remain high sky after months of war, missile exchanges, naval confrontations, and the continued blockade crisis in the Strait of Hormuz. Speaking to Russia's RINA news agency, Deputy Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Bagheri Khani, declared that the frozen assets belong to the Iranian people and must be released in full and without conditions. Iranian officials argue that Washington has held back billions in oil revenues, central bank reserves, and commercial assets for decades through what Tehran calls illegal sanctions and political pressure. Iran's assets must be released unconditionally. It is the legitimate right of the Iranian people. The funds belong to the Iranian nation and should not remain subject to political pressure or restrictions imposed by Washington. According to Iran's Tasnim and Fars news agencies, the issue of frozen funds has now become the biggest obstacle in the ongoing indirect negotiations between Iran and USA. A source close to the Iranian negotiating team reportedly said meaningful diplomacy cannot even begin unless the U.S. takes concrete action on the money issue first. The standoff has intensified despite reports that Pakistan-mediated talks were inching toward a temporary memorandum based on Iran's proposed framework to end the conflict. President Donald Trump, however, publicly rejected the idea of sanctions relief during a cabinet meeting on Wednesday, insisting Iran would receive no easing of sanctions and no financial concessions in exchange for nuclear commitments. Bagheri Khani also lashed out at Washington in an interview with RT, accusing the U.S. of making detached and unrealistic demands after failing to overpower Iran militarily. He argued that America continues to rely on force instead of diplomacy, and said the conflict proved how strategically vital the Strait of Hormuz remains for Iran's national security. Iranian officials maintain that their closure and control measures in the Hormuz waterway were part of legitimate self-defense after the joint U.S.-Israeli military campaign launched earlier this year. Tehran says its retaliatory strikes under Operation True Promise 4 targeted only military assets and were carried out in accordance with international law. With tensions still simmering and negotiations hanging by a thread, Iran is making one thing crystal clear: no money, no deal.
Sisters and brothers, that Iran, the IRGC states that there will be no peace until this abomination that is causing destruction, that is causing desolation, is removed, thrown out. Well, not thrown, removed, destroyed. And the Strait of Hormuz, sisters and brothers, is where 20% of the world's oil come through. Not just oil, other things, other materials, things needed for nations to sustain food and other things needed. So the things that are needed in the region are not coming out. Iran is controlling the Strait of Hormuz and is affecting the world. Now, sisters and brothers, this is what is taking place right now. And scripture, sisters and brothers, lets us know and states but when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that her destruction is near. Jerusalem, sisters and brothers, is false Israel. I think it's, I don't know if Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. Jerusalem is it the capital? think Tel Aviv might be the capital. However, Jerusalem is false Israel. So when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that her desolation is near. Then those who are in Judea must flee. Judah, Judea, to the mountains, and those who are inside the city must leave, and those who are in the country must not enter the city, because these are the days of punishment, so that all things which have been written will be fulfilled. Woe to those women who are pregnant, and to those who are nursing babies in those days, for there will be great distress upon the land and wrath to these people. Sisters and brothers, this is letting us know that when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, flee to the mountains, or flee. It's sharing with us, the original black man and woman. When we see this, to flee, because Jerusalem destruction is near. Sisters and brothers, America is going to attack all blacks before false Israel is destroyed. Because when the religious eschatology, when false Israel is destroyed, their religious eschatology is also destroyed. And the truth will come to light, and that light will bring us, the original black man and woman, who has been blocked from who we are, is also being blocked from our vision. Sisters and brothers. But when false Israel is destroyed, we will immediately recognize who we are. And will understand, well, let me say this. We'll recognize that we're the true seed of Abraham. And we will be reminded and shared with our vision, what our vision is. Now, sisters and brothers, our vision is what we have to bring in as a people, as a nation, as one body. Sisters and brothers, our vision is what we would unify in bringing in. So it is what we will be directed to or towards as a nation, as a people, as one body. So our vision is what we as a people will be directed to, so that we're not split or separated into many thoughts or trying to do other, you know, soon as we won't be scattered, separated, and then destroyed. Because a people without a vision will be destroyed. They won't know, they won't have a unified direction. So, sisters and brothers, our vision is the Abrahamic covenant. So let us look at, we're going to bring an understanding of our vision, as well as look at Abram's vision of horror that identifies and brings us to where we are today and connects us to our vision. All right. Abram's vision and the Abrahamic covenant. Now, we're going to begin with our vision. Sisters and brothers, our vision is the Abrahamic covenant. Our vision is to return home, giving us the direction and where we are to be going as a people, as a nation. Sisters and brothers, our vision is returning and taking control of our land that is given to Abram's seed by God. So God will set us in our land, sisters and brothers. And our land that God has given us is the land from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Sisters and brothers, that land is Arabia. That land is where the dragon is sitting on. That land where the dragon had been made rich. The dragon is the house of Sod, who has put their name in front of Arabia and is calling it, making a claim, calling it Saudi Arabia. And America is protecting the house of Sod, or the dragon, Saudi Arabia. Not God. So, sisters and brothers, false Israel was set up by America and Britain. God didn't set false Israel up. So, sisters and brothers, this is our vision. And it states in the scripture, in that day, God made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Sisters and brothers, we are the true seed of Abraham, or Abram's seed. And God shared with us, made a covenant with Abram until thy seed, unto us, Abraham's seed, have God given this land. So this is the land that we've been given. This is our vision, sisters and brothers. This is the promised land. And false Israel uses our covenant and have used it to be set in Jerusalem. And America and Britain, the devil and the Satan set false Israel up. The God of this world, that the dragon is fueling, and that is making to air the inhabitants whole. Sisters and brothers, all what is being presented to us from our enemies, our open enemies, or is to block the light, the truth from being shared with us or seen, recognized, to keep us away from going or trying to bringing in our vision or recognizing what our vision is, so that we as a people will have no vision. Because a people without a vision will perish, because they will never unify in one. Their vision is separated. They have no direction in their vision. This is our vision, sisters and brothers, that God has given us this land, from the river Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. Our vision is that we are returning home. We're not staying in America. We don't want any parts of America, sisters and brothers. America is going to be destroyed as well. You're witnessing the fall of America as well. The world economy, sisters and brothers, when the war escalates again, it is going to affect the world's economy, which is going to cause the world economy to crash or collapse. However, brothers and sisters, our vision is the Abrahamic covenant. And our reality here in America that we have lived through for over 400 years. And has been shared with us what we would endure through in from Abram's vision. Now let's look at that. Abram's vision of horror. Sisters and brothers, they're also blocking us from understanding that the scripture is speaking on us. That this scripture is being lived out, not something that happened in the past. No, it is something that has to be happening in the time of the end, in the time of the judgment of this world, in the judgment of Satan or America. God's chosen people will be in this strange land as they are being judged. and they will be being brought out of the land of their affliction. So, sisters and brothers, what they cannot do is change the facts, the truth. They can lie, but the truth stands alone. It's mathematically correct. You can't get away from the math. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, God said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be sojourners in the land that is not theirs. Sojourners mean temporarily there, a temporary stay. They will be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also, that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterwards they come out with great substance. Thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. And in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a flaming torch that passed between these pieces. Sisters and brothers, we are Abram's seed that America, this using Christianity, they call us Ham. Call us Hamites. Say we're cursed black. We're forever to serve our brothers, they're so-called. So we're told that we're Ham. And we're cursed black. So, sisters and brothers, the scripture shares that Abram's seed will be in this strange land. So we are Ham, called Ham by America. And they've justified their actions against us using Christianity and through this narrative that we're Ham. However, sisters and brothers, the scripture shares with us in this land of our affliction, in this strange land, that we will be enslaved, that we will serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. 400 years of affliction. So for 400 years, America would afflict us. This country itself is built on the affliction of the original black man and woman. We will be afflicted 24/7, 365, meaning they will be constantly, consistently 24/7 trying to destroy our nation, trying to kill us off. They're afflicting us, torturing us, attacking us from every elevated place. And they will be carrying out this affliction for 400 years. It's telling that this nation is set up on the backs of the original black man and woman, on the necks, trying to destroy our nation. Sisters and brothers, now, this 400-year period has to have a starting point for us to gauge this 400-year period. Now, slavery in America began in 1619. So from 1619 to 2019 is 400 years. This is a proven beginning and an end, because in their laws or writings, the official starting point of slavery, the official starting of slavery was 1619. The 1619 Project. These is written facts that cannot be, that can be added up, utilized, proven by their documentation. So from 1619 to 2019 is a 400-year period. So, sisters and brothers, that brings us into 2020. Now, knowing what took place in 2020, 2020 affected the world as a whole. And the world has changed since 2020. Sisters and brothers, 2020 was the official start of America's judgment. It's the official start date of the judgment of America in its world, Satan's world. Now, how do we know that? 2020 came in, and the scripture lets us know, sisters and brothers, and it states that I will send a plague that will kill the firstborn of Egypt. Sisters and brothers, when we hear the firstborn, this religious eschatology and listening to, being preached to, for hundreds of years, and being told what it means. So you've been always told that the firstborn means the children. It's a child, the firstborn. It's like makes you think that you're speaking about a child. Sisters and brothers, that's in their interpretation. But in reality, the firstborn is the elderly because they were born first. The children are not the firstborn. They just was born. They newborn. The firstborn are the elderly. It didn't say newborn. It said the firstborn. So the plague that came in, and they called the plague COVID-19. Sisters and brothers, COVID-19 directly targeted the Caucasian nations, elderly, the elderly Caucasians, the Caucasian nations, the elderly were affected, being decimated or killed throughout the world. It didn't pass over false Israel. They had millions die. It didn't pass over America. Millions died in America. France, Italy, Germany, all over the world, all throughout the Caucasian nations, and in China, and they shared that China shared because at first they were calling COVID the Wuhan virus, saying that it started in China. And China stated that they believe blacks were immune to COVID. So they kicked all the blacks out of China. Sisters and brothers, we're being blocked, lied to, deceived by our enemies. Our enemies have one of their children, one of their black-faced children, sitting in the temple of God, claiming that he is God, showing himself that he is God, exalting himself above all that is called God. Sisters and brothers. So this is a calculated a counterintelligence program that is a government plan scheme against our nation. They are countering the intelligence. using counterintelligence, setting up things to take us and keep us away from the truth. Sisters and brothers, Scripture shares with us that there's going to be famine. We're going to go through America is about to go through a period of famine. In this period of the judgment of America, which is going to bring on panic, chaos, what's it called? Cannibalism. And also a civil war inside of America. Sisters and brothers, this time is being brought about right in our midst. And we don't understand or see what's coming. However, the unsealed scriptures, the messenger of the covenant, the breaker of the seven seals, Master Suleiman, Daniel the prophet, Joshua the Messiah, is sharing with us what is about to take place from the unsealed scriptures. Sisters and brothers, everything that has been shared with us is coming more into fruition, more into the light, becoming brighter and brighter. Sisters and brothers, so sisters and brothers, to understand, to get a picture of what's coming, to America and what we're going to have to deal with in the near future. They're sharing this with you or with us. And many of our people are so distracted and don't understand what's taking place in the world or how it's going to affect them, thinking that, oh, the war in the Middle East or that war over there is not going to affect us over here. Sisters and brothers, you're mistaken. What's taking place over there is coming to America. That's the war itself, genocide, murder, famine, chaos, civil war. Oh, that's everything that you're witnessing over there is coming here. And it's known, sisters and brothers, that nations understand this and are preparing because when it's spoken on that the world economy is going to collapse, when on the next escalation of the war in the Middle East, or the war in heaven, the war between America, false Israel, Britain, the dragon, and Iran. Sisters and brothers, this next escalation which can be any day, is going to cause a collapse in the world economy because of the energy crisis that the world will be affected by. Lack of energy, no oil, no gas. Now, when the House of Saud, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, all these nations are brought to a complete halt of distributing oil, when their oil facilities are on fire, there will be no oil being delivered, sent out, and the world is already at its lowest ever, and it's already at a shortage, in a shortage. So, sisters and brothers, we're going to watch another clip. It's going to give you an understanding of what we're facing, what's coming about, and how they plan and know how these things are going to affect us. How we are always under attack. Sisters and brothers, from every elevated place, constantly being afflicted, set up. This nation is keeps us under affliction 24/7, 365, under attack to control us, to keep us away from coming together, to keep us from seeing our vision, to keep us from taking control of ourselves and our vision, and bringing our vision in. Leaving America. They want to keep us divided and to keep us here in the hells, in the land of our affliction, under their foot, under their rule. Matter of fact, they want to get rid of us completely, destroy us, kill us off. So, sisters and brothers, we're going to look at this clip. It's going to give you a visual, an understanding of just what type of scenario that will be facing, that the unsealed scripture share with us. This is what's coming to America. This is what's coming to a theater, no, to your doorstep soon. This is what we will be dealing with. bring this up. Make this a little bigger, sisters and brothers, for y'all to see. I'm not. Here you are. Nice.
I need to talk to Black America right now, because nobody is breaking this down for us. There is a war happening in the Middle East. Bombs are falling on Iran across 24 provinces. The Strait of Hormuz, the waterway where 20% of the world's oil passes through every single day, has been shut down. Oil tankers are sitting still. Supply chains are freezing. And I need you to understand what that means for your life. Not in some abstract, geopolitical way. I mean your gas tank, your grocery bill, your rent, your job. Because every single time America starts a war in the Middle East, there is a chain reaction that hits home. Oil prices spike, gas goes up. When gas goes up, everything goes up. Because everything in this country is moved by trucks that run on fuel. Food gets more expensive. Shipping gets more expensive. Heating your home gets more expensive. Companies start cutting costs. And when companies cut costs, the first people who lose their jobs, the first neighborhoods that lose services, the first communities that slip into crisis are Black communities, every single time. This isn't theory. It happened after the Gulf War. It happened after Iraq. It happened after Libya. And what's happening right now in Iran is bigger than all of those combined. If you're new here, this is Black Culture Unlocked. Subscribe and hit the bell, because this is the video the news should be showing right now, but won't. Let me explain why this particular war is more dangerous to your wallet than any war America has fought in decades. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway between Iran and Oman. It is only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, and roughly 20% of all the oil consumed on Earth passes through it every single day. That is about 21 million barrels of oil every day, moving through a choke point narrower than the distance from one side of Manhattan to the other. When Operation Epic Fury launched on February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel struck Iran across 24 of its 31 provinces. Iran's navy was targeted directly, and 11 vessels were sunk in the Gulf of Oman in a matter of days. The naval headquarters in Bandar Abbas, which sits directly on the strait, was engulfed in flames. Iran responded by effectively closing the Strait of Hormuz. Commercial tanker traffic has stalled. Insurance companies are refusing to cover ships passing through the area. Oil that was flowing freely 2 weeks ago is now sitting in ports with nowhere to go. The last time the Strait of Hormuz was even threatened with closure, not actually closed, oil prices jumped 15% in a single week. This time, it is not a threat. The waterway is functionally shut down. And every barrel of oil that cannot get through that strait is a barrel that drives prices higher for everyone, and especially for people who were already stretched thin before this started. Here's how this hits you directly. When oil prices spike, gas prices follow within days, not weeks, days. Gas stations adjust their prices based on the wholesale cost of fuel, and that wholesale cost is tied directly to global oil markets. The Strait of Hormuz shutting down is the single most disruptive event that can happen to oil supply on Earth. We saw it after Iraq in 2003. Gas prices rose nearly 50% between 2003 and 2008. We saw it after Libya in 2011. Gas hit $4 a gallon nationally, and in some cities it crossed $5 a gallon. We saw it after Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. Gas spiked to over $5 a gallon nationally, the highest in American history at the time. But here's the part that hits Black communities specifically. When gas goes up, everything goes up. The price of food in the United States is directly tied to transportation costs. Over 70% of all freight in the United States moves by truck. Those trucks run on diesel. When diesel prices spike, the cost of getting food from farms to warehouses to grocery stores goes up, and that cost gets passed directly to you at the register. In 2022, when gas hit its peak after the Ukraine crisis, food prices in the United States rose by over 10% in a single year, the fastest increase in 40 years. Studies consistently show that food price inflation hits Black households harder because Black families spend a higher percentage of their income on food and essentials than white families. When you are already spending 30 to 35% of your income just to eat and keep the lights on, a 10% price increase is not an inconvenience. It is a crisis. This is the conversation nobody is having on the news. If you know someone who needs to hear this, share this video right now. Like and subscribe. Let's keep going. Every major Middle East conflict in the last 50 years has been followed by an economic downturn in the United States. Everyone. The 1973 oil embargo, triggered by conflict in the Middle East, caused a recession that lasted until 1975. Unemployment hit 9%. Inflation reached double digits. The 1979 Iranian Revolution and the war between Iran and Iraq that followed caused oil prices to double. The United States entered a deep recession in 1980 that lasted 2 years. Unemployment peaked at nearly 11%. The 1990 Gulf War caused an oil price shock that contributed to the recession from 1990 to 1991. The 2003 invasion of Iraq helped fuel the conditions through deficit spending and economic instability that led to the financial crisis from 2007 to 2008. And here's the pattern within the pattern. In every single one of those recessions, Black unemployment was roughly double white unemployment every time. That's not a coincidence. It's structural. Black workers are disproportionately in industries that get hit first during economic downturns, including the service sector, retail, hospitality, and transportation. When companies start laying people off, they start at the bottom. And in America, the bottom has always been disproportionately Black. During the 2008 financial crisis, Black unemployment peaked at 16.8%, nearly double the national average. Black household wealth dropped by 53% between 2005 and 2009. The median white household had 20 times the wealth of the median Black household by 2009. A huge portion of that wealth destruction came from the housing crisis, which hit Black homeowners hardest because they had been steered into predatory subprime loans at rates far higher than white borrowers with the same credit profiles. That's what happens when wars create economic shocks. The shock travels through the system and lands hardest on the people with the least cushion. And in America, that's Black people. Always has been. And here's the part that should make you angry. Every time America enters a war, military recruitment in Black communities increases. Not because Black people are more patriotic, because the economic conditions created by war, rising prices, fewer jobs, and shrinking opportunities push people into the military as a last resort. The military knows this. Recruitment offices are disproportionately concentrated in low-income neighborhoods. Recruiters target high schools in communities with the fewest college-bound students and the highest unemployment. They offer signing bonuses, college tuition, healthcare, housing, everything that the economy just made harder to access. Black Americans are overrepresented in the military relative to their share of the population. They are overrepresented in the enlisted ranks, the people on the front lines, while being underrepresented in the officer corps. The people giving the orders are disproportionately white. The people carrying them out are disproportionately black and brown. So let me draw the line for you. America starts a war. That war creates an economic crisis at home. That crisis hits black communities hardest. That hardship drives black men and women into the military. Then the military sends them to fight the very war that destroyed their economic prospects in the first place. It's a cycle. It is not an accident. It is a pipeline. From your neighborhood to the battlefield, funded by the very instability the war creates. So what is coming from the Iran war specifically? Let me be direct. If the Strait of Hormuz remains disrupted for weeks or months, oil prices could reach levels we have not seen since 2008, possibly higher. Gas prices nationally could push past $6 a gallon. In some cities, you could be looking at $7 or $8 a gallon. Oil prices will ripple through the economy. When that happens, food prices will follow. Rent pressures will increase as landlords pass energy costs to tenants. Small businesses in black neighborhoods, already operating on thin margins, will start closing. Hiring will freeze. Layoffs will begin in the sectors where black workers are most concentrated. If this escalates into a prolonged conflict, if American troops are deployed on the ground, if Iran continues retaliating, if oil supply is disrupted for months, we are looking at a potential recession. And we already know who gets hurt worst in a recession. Here is what makes this moment different from previous wars. Black America is already under economic pressure. The wealth gap has not closed. Median black household wealth is still a fraction of median white household wealth. Housing costs have been rising for years. Student loan burdens weigh disproportionately on black graduates. This war is not hitting a community with a cushion. It is hitting a community that was already on the edge. So, what can you do? First, understand what is happening. Do not let the news frame this as something happening over there. Every bomb that drops on Iran sends a ripple through the global economy that will reach your grocery store within weeks. Second, prepare. Lock in prices where you can. Reduce unnecessary spending. Build whatever financial cushion you are able to, even if it is small. Third, pay attention to who is profiting. Defense contractors, oil companies, financial firms that bet on volatility. Every war creates winners and losers, and the winners are never the people in your neighborhood. And fourth, remember this the next time someone tells you the war was necessary. Ask them who paid the price, because the answer is always the same. The news covers this war like it is a military story. Missiles, targets, casualties, strategic objectives. But for Black America, this is not a military story. It is the economic story. It is the story of how a conflict 7,000 miles away is about to make it harder for you to fill your tank, feed your kids, pay your rent, and keep your job. And the part that should keep you up at night, they know this. The people who make these decisions, the politicians, the defense contractors, the oil executives, they know exactly what happens to black communities when wars drive up prices and crash economies. They have seen it every time. They have the data, they have the history, and they do it anyway. Because black communities absorbing the economic shockwaves of American wars is not a bug in the system. It is the system. Now you know how it works. Do not let it work on you without you seeing it coming. If this opened your eyes, subscribe, share this with everyone, drop a comment and tell me, has the cost of gas or groceries already hit your household? The war just started and the bill hasn't even arrived yet. I'll see you in the next one.
All right, sisters and brothers. This is a touch enough to give you an understanding of what this war is going to bring on us, and how it's going to affect us, the original black man and woman. Sisters and brothers, this is what is a stream. It's going to be far worse than what's been shared with us. Because 20% is just what comes through Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz. However, much more of it is coming out of Saudi Arabia or Arabia. Now, we could look at it. However, that's just giving you an understanding of what is about to take place. The conditions that we are about to witness, go through. Sisters and brothers, this is what is about to happen. This is fallout of the war in heaven, in the Middle East. Sisters and brothers, America plan is to attack us all blacks. Sisters and brothers, before false Israel was destroyed, before you have a chance to see, to get the understanding of who we are, before you see false Israel destroyed, because that'll bring us out of our stupor, out of this lie, will be destroyed immediately when they are destroyed. This religious eschatology, all of that falls apart. It's destroyed with false Israel. So, America has set a trap for us. And it's been set in our face, sisters and brothers. We're witnessing these ICE facilities ballooning up all over America. They're using DOD objective 5240.01 that they activated in September 27, 2024. This DOD objective is to give them authority to use lethal force against U.S. citizens. Basically, to use lethal force against us. Now, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Sisters and brother, I'm making this a nice size so you can look at it. And see it clear. Now, here we have, it tells you assistance in responding with assets with potential for lethality, or any situation in which it is reasonably foreseeable that providing the requested assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force, including death or serious bodily injury. It also includes all support to civilian law enforcement officials in situations where a confrontation between civilian law enforcement and civilian individuals or groups is reasonably anticipated. All right. Sisters and brothers, that's speaking on us. Who do you think they're going to use this against? This is the law that they're using ICE. This gives them, from every branch, every level of law enforcement, the right to use lethal force against us, from city and state to the government to the military. And that is what we're witnessing with this ICE agents, where they don't need warrants, probable cause. They just walk up on you and see who they're looking for and begin to question, and to, as they were doing, they were questioning, they were seizing, snatching people up, taking them in, asking questions later. No matter if you had ID or not. This is just was them doing a practice run. So when they implement this attack, when the call is put out, when the alert, when the national security alert is put out, they have it already set up and know how they're going to carry it out. And they have these facilities. They're not penitentiaries. They're not jails. You can't look in them. I'm not going to go into it due to time. However, sisters and brothers, this is a plan. This is a snare that they have set up for us. And when America finds itself, as is until scriptures say, thrown out of heaven, thrown out the Middle East, and knows for sure that false Israel is surrounded by armies and its desolation is near, its destruction is near, they're going to attack us, sisters and brothers, and that is the time when we are to flee. Flee to the messenger of the covenant, who will suddenly appear in the messenger's temple, the Lord whom you are seeking. Sisters and brothers, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, know that its desolation is near. That is when we're to flee. Flee as to the messenger of the covenant. Sisters and brothers, we must come together, unite. This is our protection. This is how we will be protected, protect ourselves as in unity. Sisters and brothers, we have to get our minds back. We have to get our minds back. We have to understand our vision. We have to know that we're leaving up out of here. There is a doorway out. We have to start thinking, take on this angel mind, and use the 5 pillars of Islam for our protection. All of this, sisters and brothers, to come together, get our minds, our thinking back, our minds back, and be able to achieve Hajj. Sisters and brothers, we are the true seed of Abraham. We have a way out. Our vision is a way out of America. Our vision is to return home to our land that God promised to Abram's seed. which is us, the true seed of Abraham, which is us who are in the land of our affliction, who is being brought out of that land right now, judging that nation and the world, judging them as we speak. Their judgment is taking place, and we're going to be brought up out of the land of our affliction, out of America, returning home, returning back to our land with great substance. Sisters and brothers, once again, we're the true seed of Abraham. This is what they're blocking. They're trying to keep from us. They have their devil, one of their devil seed, sitting in the temple of God. Louis Farrakhan blocking. He loves America. He don't want to go nowhere. He's staying here. He don't want to see nothing happen to America. He don't want America to go the way of Rome and the way of Sodom and Gomorrah. He don't want to see this. He's saying that he can change, or he can reform the devil. No, and this is what he's been pushing since 1975. Since 1975, with Wallace, and he hasn't changed up not one bit. Acting as if, oh, he just did that for 3 years and he switched it up when he got a message from whoever brought him this book, and on the third day he arose. The third day of after reading the book that Bernard Kushmir brought him, he read, and he rose on the third day. Just BS. Lie after lie. He is the seed of the devil. A direct seed from the synagogue of the Satan. False Israel. Sisters and brothers, they're blocking our vision. They're blocking, keeping us, confusing us, keeping all kind of BS in your way to keep you from understanding what's taking place. This is all about the original black man and woman. We're directly connected to what's taking place in the world today. The scriptures of the scripts, the Bibles, the Quran, the scriptures are coming into fruition. Played out, everything is happening right now in real time. So, sisters and brothers, I'm going to bring this to a close and greet you as I came in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.